Many individuals go missing each year, yet only a small portion of those disappearances are captured on CCTV or other video footage. Sometimes these videos aid in solving the cases and helping locate these missing people. On the 19th of February in 2008, 9-year-old Shannon Louise Matthews had been reported missing in West Yorkshire, England. She was last seen on CCTV footage at Dewsbury swimming pool shortly before vanishing. Her case was compared to that of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. Luckily, the young girl had been found alive and well on the 14th of March of 2008 at a Batley car house that was found to belong to 29-year-old Michael Donovan. Donovan was the uncle of Craig Mahan, Karen Matthews' boyfriend. Karen Matthews was the mother of Shannon. It was soon found that Karen and Donovan had been behind Shannon's disappearance. During the investigation and the efforts to find the missing girl, police had spoken to the family. 32-year-old Karen stated that she has 7 children with 5 different fathers and insisted that 22-year-old Mahan had a good relationship with Shannon. But police admitted that the response to the inquiry had been inconsistent, and it hadn't aided them in establishing a clear idea of what could have been going on in the girl's mind the day she vanished. There's been a diary that was discovered, scribbled with notes, with one message expressing Shannon's desire to live with her natural father. According to Detective Superintendent Brennan, there was writing all over the walls of the girl's bedroom as well, but there was nothing that jumped out as particularly concerning. There was also no evidence to suggest that Shannon had journeyed to her father from Dewsbury to Huddersfield. She was not seen boarding a train or a bus and had made no effort in saying goodbye to any of her friends. The search for the missing 9-year-old began on a Wednesday evening, and her mother made another plea for her daughter to come home. The Holme Valley Mountain Rescue searched the Dewsbury Moor Crematorium and Cemetery, while divers broke the ice over frozen ponds, and the mounted police patrolled the town while helicopters circled overhead, but all to no avail. Chief Superintendent Barry South stated that they had recovered at least 250 items, but none of them were linked to Shannon, only furthering their rising concern. It was 24 days after her disappearance that Shannon was discovered in Batley Car, West Yorkshire. She was hidden inside the base of a bed at a house that was occupied by Donovan. She'd been tethered to the bed and sedatives were used to keep her quiet. But further testing found that she'd been dosed 2 years before her disappearance, which led to the theory that Karen Matthews had been involved in this. Officers were able to locate the girl after receiving tips from neighbors who heard children's footsteps, which they'd never heard before. Police arrested the man at the scene and charged him with false imprisonment and kidnapping. During the questioning, the man yelled, quote, "Get Karen done here. We'd got a plan. We're sharing the money, £50,000. On the 8th of April, Karen was charged with child neglect and perverting the course of justice. It's believed that Karen and Donovan had planned to release the child after a few days, and then discover her and take her to the police station where they would claim the reward money. A detective reportedly asked Karen if she called 999 as part of the act to make it appear that Shannon had gone missing. She agreed with the statement. It was also alleged that Karen cried while saying that everyone would hate her for what she had done, and that she'd disgraced the kids. Following the trial at Leeds Crown Court in December of 2008, the pair were each sentenced to 8 years in prison. Karen served half of this sentence and was released, and has since completely changed her identity. 13-year-old Ariah Bridger was last seen in central Auckland in the Grafton area on the 24th of March 2022. The Auckland police had appealed to the public for any sightings of the missing girl, who'd now been gone almost a week. At the time, the girl had been wearing a red tracksuit and purple shoes and had with her a black backpack. It was asked that if anyone had seen Ariah, that they make contact with the police immediately on 111. There were concerns for her well-being. The following day, police inquiries as to her disappearance were going on, and police were urging members of the public to contact them with any information they may have. 4 days after her disappearance, Ariah was seen on CCTV footage on the 28th of March at around 9:12 in the evening on Wellesley Street in the city center. Thereafter, she was located safe and well on Auckland's North Shore. She was safe but hungry. Ariah's mother had told the Herald that she'd been staying with her aunt when she suddenly disappeared 12 days prior. She had not seen her daughter since she'd been discovered by the authorities, but had been informed by her own mother that she was safe and with the police. The family was incredibly relieved that the girl was found following such a lengthy police search. The authorities had thanked the members of the public for their assistance and anyone who'd given them information. The search for Ariah was widened when the police requested sightings of her from Albany residents and bus passengers after they determined that she'd boarded a late-night service that was headed to a North Auckland suburb. It was found that she'd boarded the NX2 bus. The CCTV footage that was found was captured in central Auckland on the 28th of March, but the actual footage was not released, but rather a screen grab of it. The grainy images show the girl on Wellesley Street on Monday at 9:12 that evening. It's not been clarified how exactly the girl had been found, and it's uncertain as to how she ended up missing in the first place. It was given Ariah's age that the police and the community worried about her safety and her well-being. A spokesperson had stated that they wished to locate her so that they could speak with her, and it was thanks to both the community and the CCTV footage that the young girl had been found unharmed. Neil Allen from Dorset was supposed to meet with some friends on the 13th of February, but failed to make an appearance. An extensive search for the 41-year-old man was carried out by means of land, air, and sea. Luckily, there were some sightings of the missing individual. The latest had been at around 8:18 in the evening on the 26th of February. The sighting was at a one-stop in Dales Drive near the Canford Bottom Junction. There had been some previous indications that he'd visited a place in Barnes Crescent before heading to the Spar store on Gordon Road at 8:50 on the 13th of February. The sighting was captured on CCTV. He was seen again after this in Lay Road, close to Brook Road, between 9:30 and 10 p.m. The Wimborne man is described as being 5 feet and 10 inches tall, with long brunette hair and a full beard. The chief inspector, David Parr, stated that the inquiries have led the department to believe that Neil is residing in the Wimborne local area. He'd last been seen wearing a green and blue Peter Storm hooded raincoat, dark pants, and boots. The man's family, friends, and community are worried about him and are appealing for information regarding the whereabouts of Neil. His mother had also asked that he get in contact with her or even one of his friends to let them know he was okay. It was asked that anyone who has any information regarding his whereabouts make contact with the Dorset police. Neil's disappearance was described as being out of character, and concerns began to rise. Adam Stirrup had stated that his friends were out looking for the man every day and that they just wanted him to come home. He was described as a lovely guy who would not do anything bad to anyone. He was a popular character in the town and everyone knew him. If he was not coming home, he would have let his mother or someone know where he is. Police had also urged motorists in these areas to look at their dashcam footage for any possible sightings. But sometime later, it was revealed that Neil was found alive and well. The man had been missing for almost a month, 24 days to be exact. It was confirmed on the 7th of March that the man was found using a drone along with police officers. Inspector Parr confirmed that he was found on the 7th of March, and he wanted to thank all the members of the public for their assistance, as well as the trained volunteers who aided in the search and provided valuable information. An Ohio EMT, Lachelle Jordan, disappeared in 2023. The 30-year-old woman was last seen at around 6 p.m. on the 6th of May, when she'd gone to get something from her vehicle on Dareport Avenue. She'd gone missing exactly 2 days before she was due to make a court appearance in a case that involved her further coworker, 65-year-old Michael Stennett. On the 11th of May, Jordan suddenly reappeared, 3 miles from her home at a convenience store. CCTV footage was captured of her running into the store and asking to use the phone so that she could call for help. It was revealed that Stennett was out on bond at the time that Jordan had gone missing, but had been arrested the following Monday and booked. It was reported that he was arrested on account of violating a protective order that was filed by the EMT. It was later confirmed that the woman was taken to the Cleveland Hospital for medical treatment, and additional information would be provided as to her condition as soon as it became available. The footage had shown Jordan limping into the store, located on the 16,600 block of Euclid Avenue on the 11th of May, around 11 that evening. The clerk who was working that night at the open pantry stated that Jordan had come in and asked to use the phone. The surveillance footage supported the statement, showing her phoning the police. According to the owner of the store, she alleged that she had been kidnapped. Furthermore, in a notice released by the police asking for information about when Jordan had gone missing, she was listed as endangered. It had been stated by authorities that when the EMT had left her house to go to the car, she disappeared, leaving her purse and her phone behind. Before she'd been found, her father had said that it was unusual for her to have gone missing and pleaded for her to be returned safely. He proceeded to hand out missing person flyers in the local area. Crime Stoppers was offering a $5,000 reward for any information that may assist the case in the event that it involves criminal activity. The mother of two was said to appear in court in a case against Stennett, who was indicted on 1 count of abduction and another 2 counts as per the court records. The court docket said that the state and defense appealed for the pretrial hearing to be continued, as Jordan had gone missing and the state was in the process of trying to find her. Police had not stated if Stennett was a suspect in the woman's disappearance, and no other suspects have since come about. It was later confirmed that Jordan was back on her regular EMT duties, but investigators believed that they uncovered some inconsistent evidence in the case. According to a statement made by the mayor's office, nobody had been arrested or charged, and there are no persons of interest relating to the case. There was no information at the time that would indicate a threat to public safety in connection with the disappearance. During a conversation with the News 5 investigator, Sarah Buttison, Jordan alleged that she was kidnapped and ran the moment she had the chance. According to Chris Chapin, the Cleveland EMS interim deputy commissioner, Jordan is a solid employee. She does her job and there are no complaints. She's also someone who treats her patients well. There have been no details released relating to the abduction in terms of what happened during the 5 days that she was held captive. It's also uncertain as to why she'd been abducted and who may have done it. 3-year-old Khloe Campbell, referred to as Aussie Maddie or Australian Maddie, went missing back in 2014. The child's disappearance sparked a massive search effort, and her parents feared that she may have been snatched from the house. Police quickly issued a child abduction alert, notifying airports and ports to keep a lookout for the blonde-haired girl. The girl is from Queensland and is believed to have been taken from the lounge area of the home. Garth, the child's father, stated that the window in the lounge was left open, and there were some adult-sized footprints on the car below. This case was dubbed Aussie Maddie in reference to the similarities that it had with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann in 2007. It was stated that she'd been asleep in the family home with her 2 sisters, Janae, who was 8 years old, and Brittany, who was 5. The police were contacted at 7 a.m. by Garth Campbell and Tammy O'Donnell, Khloe's parents, after they awoke to find her missing. Miraculously, 42 hours later, the girl was found. It had been 1 in the morning when Khloe was found walking in Childers showgrounds. The toddler was alone but safe. It was also reported that the child was calling out "Mommy" repeatedly as she made her way through the showground. A search was then carried out on the showground for potential evidence. Bright witches' hats were placed on the showground's football oval, marking evidence. Trash bins had been combed through, and a toilet block was examined by more investigators. No arrests had been made at the time relating to this case, and the investigation was still ongoing. The police were making use of sniffer dogs to track anyone who may have dropped the young girl off. No one had any idea how the girl had come to be in the showground, and every aspect is being taken into account. Finding Khloe has been described as a miracle. Inspector Guthridge stated that the intense, frantic search can now be shifted to an investigation into what may have happened. He said for the last few days, the focus had been on finding her, and now that she's been found, they can focus on the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. Authorities had also been given some security footage from the residential camera, which shows 2 men walking with a young child, 200 yards from where Khloe had vanished. A local resident named Les Fennell had passed the footage on to police and said that the video had shown men with a young child who was yet to be identified as a girl or a boy. They appeared to be walking south by the railway line. The child had been walking at least 15 yards ahead of the men as they passed at the back of a toilet block, as dawn was on the rise. 20 minutes later, the men returned, but this time the child was not with them. Fennell said that it appeared the child had known the men and was leading the way. Khloe was soon reunited with her parents and her extended family, who were all staying at the home of Melissa Small while the police maintained a crime scene at the Ridgeway Street home. Her relieved grandma had given her a bag of Easter eggs, and she smiled and bounced up the front steps. Local supermarkets had provided some free food to the distraught family. The local detectives received thousands of phone calls and sifted through heaps of information and rumors as they tried to establish how Khloe had disappeared. Detectives had been under the impression that she would never have ventured so far away from home, whether she was alone or with her abductor. Garth had also stated that he doesn't believe that she wandered off and would not have left the yard by herself. He furthered that they usually close all the windows at dusk to keep out the mosquitoes, but thought that this particular window didn't latch correctly. Khloe was taken to the hospital upon her discovery to ensure that she was in good condition. She was released back to her family shortly after, who were ecstatic about her reappearance. Hussein al-Mansouri, a 12-year-old special needs boy with autism and Down syndrome, was reported missing after he'd been seen running from Auburn Memorial Park. He was heading toward a busy intersection at around 10:30 that morning. Thereafter, an extensive search operation consisting of helicopters and hundreds of SES volunteers was carried out. It had been a Saturday when the child had disappeared. CCTV images were released of the boy, who was seen running from the park to an intersection of Station Road and Rawson Street to Auburn Station, but it was confirmed that he did not board a train. He'd been wearing a pale t-shirt and didn't have any shoes on. Hussein's family explained that he was known to run away at random, but was usually very quickly found. After not having found him for a short period, his parents reported him missing to officers at the Auburn Police Area Command, and the search was kickstarted. Superintendent Simon Glasser stated that the footage revealed just how vulnerable the boy was. Glasser also said that his favorite song, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, was played loudly in the streets as the search was conducted. It was stated by the superintendent that he was known to run from people when he'd gone missing, and he'd done so in the past. The music was a tactic to make him feel safe and coax him out of wherever he may be hiding. After disappearing that Saturday morning, Hussein was discovered, quote, smiling and sitting up the following Monday. It was found that the boy had wandered into a fire escape of a nearby medical center. It's thought that he'd wandered in there and the door closed behind him, leading him to believe that he was now trapped in there. It was around 12:40 on a Monday afternoon when a staff member of the City West Medical Center had located Hussein by accident, hiding under the stairwell. The center is located just 150 meters from the Auburn police station, which had led the extensive search. Glasser stated that the boy was smiling and sitting up and appeared to be doing all right. It was likely that Hussein walked down the driveway to the center and entered it before heading to the stairwell from the bottom. Upon learning that their child had been found, Hussein's parents raced to the scene. His cousin had cried out with joy, "He's okay, he's okay." It was uncertain as to how long Hussein was trapped in the stairwell and if he had any access to food or water. His family was rather distraught after not being able to find him, but after being found, he was taken to the Children's Hospital at Westmead and was released that evening. A video was also released of Hussein being wheeled out in a wheelchair. Glasser explained that there were 200 volunteers who assisted in the search for the missing boy, which lasted over 2 days. There were 100 SES volunteers, along with hundreds of members of the public who had aided in the search. The authorities had thanked the media as well as the community for their extensive efforts in helping to locate Hussein. Upon his discovery, Hussein was enveloped in hugs. Glasser stated that it was a great result. Police were still working out as to how he had gained access to the building and when. The exact details as to how this happened are not the main concern, though, because Hussein was found, and that's all that mattered. On the 7th of December in 2017, 17-year-old Khloe Campbell went missing. The teenager was last seen in a bank in the town center of Rochdale. and a second time at Blackpool train station. She was accompanied by a 32-year-old absconded prisoner named Craig Moran, who's wanted on suspicion of child abduction. Moran has a known history of violence and was wanted on a recall for prison after breaching the terms of his license. The girl was described as being approximately 5 foot 3 inches tall, having a slim build, long brown hair, and blue eyes. She was known to wear a black leather jacket with a fur collar, as well as ripped jeans and tan ankle boots. There had been some genuine concerns for Khloe's safety, and it was stated that there was no suggestion that she'd been forcibly taken. According to the authorities, it was believed that the two had been in Blackpool after receiving potential sightings at a train station and Pleasure Beach. It was asked that if anyone had any information regarding the missing girl, that they contact the police. After having not found the girl, even though there was CCTV footage, concerns were on the rise. Despite their best efforts, police were unable to locate her and appealed to the public for assistance. A CCTV image was released showing Khloe and Moran in Santander Bank on Yorkshire Street in the Rochdale Town Centre on the 9th of September. The situation was described as being high risk. The Greater Manchester Police had shared the story to their social media outlets to appeal for information. The man, who's believed to be connected with her disappearance, was described as having dark hair and being in his early 30s. The girl had gone missing on a Thursday and was thankfully found the following Friday. The exact date that she was found and the circumstances surrounding her rescue are unclear. She was found safe and well. According to a spokesman, at the time, Khloe was with responding officers who were providing her with support. In addition, the man who was wanted on suspicion of child abduction was also traced. Craig Moran from Quinton in Rochdale was believed to have voluntarily presented himself to a local police station. Body camera footage captured the moment that a missing 3-year-old boy from Michigan was found. On the 4th of March, on a Monday, the boy had been reported missing at around 4 p.m. He was residing at a residence located on 68th Street, north of Phoenix Road, in the Geneva Township of Michigan. The caller explained that the toddler crawled out of an open window and disappeared around 30 minutes before the call was made that afternoon. The caller also reportedly searched the whole house as well as the garden and garage multiple times. Several agencies responded to the distress call and came in to assist the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department, which included Michigan State Police, South Haven Police Department, and the South Haven Area Emergency Services, also called SHAES. After 45 minutes of intense searches, Deputy Eric Calhoun found the missing child along with his dog, Kuno. It was another officer's body camera that captured the moment that he saw the boy, who'd been crying, and hurriedly approached him. The deputy notified the other teams, stating that he believed he'd found the toddler after hearing his cries. He was located 3/4 of a mile from his home. At the same time that Calhoun found him, one of the SHAES drones had located him as well. At the scene, the young boy was treated for minor scrapes and was quickly reunited with his parents and grandmother. In the video, Calhoun can be seen with the hound standing a short distance away from the boy. The other officer comes running through the field and passes the dog and Calhoun, his handler. The officer runs up to the young crying boy and picks him up, repeatedly telling the distressed boy that he's okay. Deputy Calhoun belonged to the Van Buren County Sheriff's Department and reported that he heard the boy crying out, "I want my mama." After the incident, the family of the toddler had released the following statement, saying, quote, "Words cannot accurately describe the gratitude our family has for the first responders both on duty and off duty, our community, and everyone that came together to bring our son home safely. Because law enforcement responded so quickly on foot, with drones and search dogs, we are forever grateful. It's our hope that these resources are available to any family experiencing the nightmare that we did, and that they'll be met with the professionalism, compassion, and heroism that we were." It was later stated that the boy was found just 50 yards away from a large body of water. The Van Buren County Sheriff, Daniel Abbott, had stated that if they'd not been there to locate the child when they did, even just 3 or 5 minutes later, the child may have wandered into one of these ponds, and it could have ended up with a very different outcome. He also said that Calhoun's goal was to have the #1 dog in the state of Michigan, if not in the nation. He further detailed that on his days off, Calhoun would set up training with other agencies so that he could stay on point with his dog. The community and the family were thankful to all of the attending officers for their quick action. Kuno and Calhoun were heroes. Kuno, the 8-year-old dog, was also detailed to have had a history of finding missing children, and together the pair had located 5 missing children in the last 7 years. Back in November of 2021, a 15-year-old teenage girl from Santa Rosa, California had gone missing. The Santa Rosa Police Department had been called out to the Rotten Robbie gas station, situated in the 2500 block of Guerneville Road, on the premise of a possible kidnapping. The authorities stated that Georgiana Baloy from Vallejo was possibly forcibly taken. Her parents had told authorities that she'd been forced into a dark-colored Jeep or a similar vehicle by a few adult males. After canvassing the area, the officers learned that the abduction had actually taken place at the Arco gas station that was across the street, and there had been some video evidence of the ordeal. In addition to the video footage, there'd been a few witnesses who stated that they'd seen Georgiana heading near the corner of Fulton and Guerneville Roads, along with several of her family members. Based on the video and the witness statements, it was gathered that at around 1:40 that Wednesday afternoon, a male suspect wearing an orange shirt hurriedly made his way across the Arco parking lot. He then proceeded to grab the young girl and force her into a dark gray-colored vehicle before heading eastbound on Guerneville Road. It was thereafter that an urgent search and Amber Alert was issued for the girl, who was described as 5'6" and having a slim build. Georgiana was said to have had long dark hair and was wearing black jeans and a black sweatshirt that had red and green cherries on it. An Amber Alert refers to an emergency response system that disseminates information regarding a missing person, usually a child, by means of media broadcasting or roadway signs. Based upon the potential kidnapping, detectives were brought in from Santa Rosa Police Department's domestic violence team, and they took over the investigation. At the time, they'd been looking for any association between the missing individual and the suspects. The team had appealed to anyone with information to contact them from an online tip, and by Friday that same week, the Amber Alert had been canceled after the girl was found safe and well. It was believed that Georgiana had been abducted by a 20-year-old man named Leonidas Semino. At the time, it was unclear if the suspect had been placed into custody, and at one point, it was thought that the two had been in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, or San Diego County, according to California Highway Patrol. But it was never released as to where exactly the missing teen had been found. It was also during the Amber Alert that it was thought that the two were traveling in a green 2007 Chrysler Town & Country minivan. At 3 in the morning on the 11th of November back in 2022, a 90-year-old man named Charles Cloak vanished from his apartment complex in Bee Cave, Texas. It had been detailed that Charles was suffering from dementia. Lake Travis Fire Rescue's Facebook page shared details on the missing individual. He was described as being an elderly male who was last seen that day walking from his residence. At the time, he'd been wearing a long-sleeve red shirt with tan shorts. A silver alert was put out for the missing man, stating that he was 90 years of age, had gray hair, and was a height of 6'1" and a weight of 180 pounds, and had brown eyes. The man had also worn glasses. A silver alert refers to an alert that's broadcast through a public notification system in the United States. This particular alert is activated when an elderly, developmentally impaired, cognitively impaired, or other high-risk individual has gone missing. And most commonly, it's used for senior citizens who suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's disease. In this case, Charles was both an elderly man and had the addition of dementia. Assisting in the search for the man was a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera. An image of the missing senior citizen was captured on the camera at 3 in the morning as Charles was walking by. The police department, as well as the fire department, were unable to make use of helicopters and drones for the search of Charles, which further inhibited the search for him. Concerns were on the rise among law enforcement, who believed that his disappearance had posed a credible threat to both his health and his safety. The Lake Travis Fire Rescue Facebook page later released an update on the situation. The high-risk individual had been found that same day around 6 p.m. that Friday evening. The Ring doorbell camera systems that have in recent years seen a rise in popularity have aided in the reduction of crime. Installing these systems has reduced burglaries by 55% over 6 months back in 2015, according to a study conducted in a Los Angeles neighborhood. These surveillance systems have also aided in assisting in the searches for missing people, and have even captured kidnappings and other crimes that officers are unable to use in order to find missing individuals or identify a criminal. CCTV video cameras have also aided in solving various crimes, or assisting with investigations of all kinds, and even identifying witnesses. But while these cameras do assist in a variety of cases, there are still many that are left unsolved. Often, this is due to a lack of working cameras, even if they are equipped. The low forensic quality also plays a part in this. Working surveillance cameras are important to the communities in order to aid in finding missing people. According to statistics, there's been a rise in disappearances in the United States from 1990 up until 1998, when there was a drop in people going missing. But by the end of 2022, missing people cases have begun to pick up again. Some people have a really hard time growing up, either because of their family's financial situation, mental issues in the home, or in many cases, because there's an element of alcoholism in the family. But some of these unlucky individuals manage to find a way to overcome the tough hand that they've been dealt, and end up making a success of their life. Unfortunately, for every success story, there's another that ends badly, when someone relapses in their old way of life, often leading to tragedy. One such success story involves a 20-year-old woman named Shelby Thornburg, who in 2015 had aspirations of becoming a model, and she was doing everything in her power to make her dreams come true. Shelby and her sister, Christina, didn't have the best time during their childhoods. They spent a lot of their time either in foster care or dealing with their mother's alcoholism, which played a major part in their development, since she was unable to care for them properly like a good parent should. As with many children in the system, they had to endure horrible conditions at times, all the while hoping that they would be placed in a loving and caring home, where they could be taken care of by foster parents who wanted them to excel in life. Likely because of these overwhelming issues, Shelby became overweight at an early age, which eventually led to obesity. She struggled to gain control of her weight, but it was only in the last few years, before she lost her life, that she was able to do so through sheer perseverance and hard work, losing 180 pounds in the process. Because of their family's situation and her struggles with her weight, Shelby suffered from bouts of depression, but she could always count on Christina, who was her elder, for encouragement and help when she needed. The two sisters would eventually move to Houston, Texas together, where Christina helped Shelby get control of her weight. Feeling more confident than ever, Shelby met a man named Marcus Dwayne Johnson, and they started dating. She also managed to find her own apartment in an upper-end high-rise building. Things seemed to be working out for Shelby, and she started thinking about a career in modeling. At this point, Christina says she felt she could relax as far as her sister was concerned, since she seemed to have taken control over her life and had ambitions for what she wanted to become. But Shelby felt that her extreme weight loss from almost 300 pounds down to 120 left her with some work to still do, and she made inquiries about getting a tummy tuck. But this didn't come with a cheap price tag, and she knew she had to find a way to make a good deal of money quickly or give up on her modeling ambitions for the time being. Her boyfriend then suggested that she become a high-end escort, a job that Christina didn't approve of. But Shelby assured her that she was only accompanying her clients to dinners and parties, and that there wasn't anything for her to worry about. The plan started to pay off, and in a short time, Shelby was able to make a down payment on the plastic surgery that she wanted. Christina wasn't as excited about her sister's newfound success though, as she was certain that she would eventually receive a phone call informing her that Shelby had been arrested for street work. In April of 2015, her fears came true when Shelby was arrested on that very charge in Dallas County. At her hearing, she pleaded no contest and was ordered to serve 33 days in jail, and she was handed a fine. After she was released, Christina asked her about the arrest, and Shelby told her that it was in an unfortunate incident where she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. She claimed that she was merely passing by an area where a lot of street workers are known to work when she was arrested along with another woman who was actually the guilty party. 2 months later, she would be arrested on that same charge once again in Houston, but fortunately, the charges in that case were dropped. Christina started to realize that her sister was headed down a dark road, and so she asked her to take some time off from her job. She stated that she was worried that Shelby may get hurt or worse, killed while working, but Shelby replied that she was worried that Johnson, her boyfriend, would get angry if she tried to leave and even end her life. It had now become apparent that Johnson wasn't Shelby's boyfriend, but rather her boss, and she decided to keep working despite being arrested twice already at this point. Things would likely have turned out very differently for Shelby if she had taken her sister's advice. But on the 4th of November, 2015, things took a tragic turn. That night, Shelby had an appointment to meet with a man at her apartment at around 8:30, and she notified Johnson of her plans. She received a text from the man at 8:33 in which he stated that he had arrived at 8:34. He was caught on CCTV security footage as he entered her apartment building at the Conquistador Apartments. 7 minutes later at 8:40, Johnson received a text from Shelby which simply read, "God." He would later explain that this was a code word they used to confirm that everything was going as planned, and that the man had paid her as agreed. 17 minutes after that, at 8:57 p.m., the same man was caught by security cameras once more as he exited the building, but Johnson got no word from Shelby. He then tried calling her on her cell phone but got no answer, and so he decided to check the apartment. To his surprise, he found Shelby deceased and immediately called 911, stating, "Someone is dead, someone murdered my girl." Police officers, rather than homicide detectives, were dispatched to the scene, and only after they confirmed that Shelby was deceased were detectives sent to the apartment. They found that her life had been ended with a large sharpened blade, and that the attack had been carried out from behind. People who were present at the crime scene stated that there were so many uniformed officers present inside the apartment that some evidence had likely been destroyed. Luckily, detectives were able to collect DNA evidence from the scene, but when it was sent to be analyzed, no matches were found, and Shelby's killer remained unidentified. With no leads to follow up on, investigators released the CCTV footage of their suspect to the public and described him as Caucasian, wearing a light-colored long-sleeve shirt with shorts and shoes. It's believed that the man targeted Shelby because of her appearance, since his phone records, which were obtained thanks to the messages he exchanged with Shelby, showed that he attempted to contact other women with similar features in the days leading up to her murder. He also used a burner phone, which can be discarded after use, which has led many people to speculate that he may be a serial killer. Investigators noted that the man in the CCTV footage left Shelby's building wearing the same clothes he had on when he arrived, but he had no biological material stains on any of his clothing. This has led to speculation that he had knowledge of how to carry out this attack without getting any evidence on him, and it's certain that he planned his crime well in advance. The man has not been identified, and Shelby's case remains under investigation. Christina has started a GoFundMe page to raise a reward of $20,000 for anyone who comes forward with information that leads to Shelby's attacker. She stated that she's attempting to have the man caught before he's able to repeat his attack on someone else, since this is a very real possibility. The surveillance footage from Shelby's building has been enhanced by Doug Carner, a video forensic analyst who found that the man seems to be wearing sunglasses and that he has a receding hairline. He was also able to pick out potential witnesses who may have seen the man as he exited the building, and investigators have asked anyone who may have done so to contact Crime Stoppers Houston at 713-222-8477. CCTV security footage is an immeasurably valuable tool for investigators during a missing person investigation, but these systems aren't always kept in good shape, and every so often they fail at just the wrong moment and vital evidence is lost forever. This can be detrimental to any missing person case, and in some instances, it can bring it to a complete halt, which is exactly what happened in the case concerning 25-year-old Mercedes Clement, who mysteriously disappeared in October of 2020 in Dallas, Texas. Mercedes' mother, Alicia Gazzotti, describes her as having a heart of gold since she's always thinking of the needs of others, often saving some of her money to give to homeless people in the area. She also volunteered at a local youth group, and on one occasion, she came across a woman who had been assaulted. Since the woman had nowhere to go, Mercedes brought her back to her family's home, where she lived for the next 2 years, giving us further insight into Mercedes' personality. But her life would take a tragic turn on the 11th of October, 2020. At around 10:30 p.m. that night, she made a series of worrisome phone calls to a few of her friends, stating that she needed help. In one of the phone calls, she told her friend that she was scared and that she needed a ride back to her car. Before her friend could respond, everything went strangely quiet before Mercedes was heard saying, "I've got to go," and the line went dead. But things would only get stranger from here. The following day, Alicia received a letter stating that Mercedes' car had been towed, and Alicia instantly knew that something was wrong, since Mercedes wouldn't simply abandon her vehicle. She immediately drove to the impound lot to collect the car, and became even more concerned by what she found inside. Mercedes' purse and wallet were still in the car, along with her keys that had been left on the passenger seat. Strangely, Alicia also found a piece of Mercedes' underwear on the same seat, and she was now convinced that something sinister was going on, and that Mercedes was in some kind of danger. But she was hopeful that she would be proved wrong. When no word had been heard from Mercedes 4 days later, Alicia's fears only intensified, and on the 26th of October, her family decided to file a missing person case, and an investigation was immediately launched. Investigators found CCTV surveillance footage from the Cocoa Apartments in Dallas, where she can be seen walking across the parking lot with a man who was known to Mercedes' family at the time. The pair is then seen walking into the man's apartment, and she's never seen or heard from again after this. This is due to the fact that the CCTV security system suddenly glitched at around 1:30 a.m. and only started recording again about 7 hours later, which means that crucial footage that might have greatly aided the investigation was lost and could not be retrieved since there was no recording. Detectives contacted the surveillance camera's manufacturer to ask whether it was common for these systems to simply stop recording, and they replied that it was a rare event indeed and that there was no explanation for it. For the next 9 months, no further evidence was found, and Mercedes' case was upgraded from a missing person investigation to a homicide case. The man who was seen in the surveillance footage walking with Mercedes was eventually identified as 36-year-old Tanner Lawson, but he's been uncooperative and refuses to speak to investigators. At the time, he was serving in prison for an unrelated incident and maintains that he doesn't have any information on Mercedes' disappearance. Detectives have since made contact with people from Mercedes' past, as they've identified several people of interest who they know are or were involved in illegal substances, but no further solid leads have been found. Strangely, it was noted that in the surveillance footage, Mercedes can be seen carrying the same purse that was found on the passenger seat of her car, and it's been speculated that she either made it back to her car at some point, or that someone took the purse back to the car and planned to retrieve it later, but couldn't do so before the vehicle was towed. Unfortunately, Mercedes' remains were found in Princeton 2 years after she disappeared. The discovery was made in a wooded area close to Lavon Lake, just under an hour away from Dallas, where Mercedes went missing, and they were identified with the use of dental records. Investigators have opted not to reveal whether Tanner Lawson is still a suspect in the case, but have stated that no one has been ruled out as a suspect yet. At present, Mercedes' attacker has not been identified, and Dallas investigators have asked anyone who has information on the case to contact Detective Patty Bello at 214-671-3603. Or alternatively, you can email patty.bellow, spelled B-E-L-E-W, at dallaspolice.gov. Investigators have reiterated that they will follow up on every lead that they receive, and that they continue to look for clues as to what happened to Mercedes that night, and to identify the person responsible for her untimely passing. In some cases where CCTV footage is used as evidence, one small detail in the footage can turn an investigation on its head. When an alternate motive for the crime is established, it needs to be approached from a completely different angle. What was first considered to be a missing person investigation may suddenly become a homicide case, or what seemed like a robbery could suddenly become an abduction case instead, depending on the footage that was gathered. This was the case in the investigation that followed the murder of Chelsea Small, a 30-year-old woman from Taylor, Michigan, who lost her life during what investigators initially thought was nothing more than an armed robbery. But it's now come to light that there may be more to the case than meets the eye. At the time, Chelsea was working at an Advance America store, which provides cash advances to people who are awaiting their paychecks. The store is located on the 8-lane Telegraph Road and is situated inside a strip mall with various other businesses surrounding it. Chelsea was supposed to have the day off on the 12th of November, 2013, but she switched shifts with one of her coworkers at the very last minute, and she would be working alone for the duration of her shift, which was a common occurrence. The store was also fitted with multiple security features, including cameras and a panic button behind the desk, ensuring it was as safe as possible since the store held large amounts of cash that would have been very tempting to any brazen robber. The staff was also in the habit of keeping all the store's doors locked during business hours, which meant that no one could enter the building without being let in after they pressed a buzzer, which is located outside the front door. Chelsea's mother told investigators that she had a short phone call with her daughter that morning at around 10:30 a.m., after which she went to the bank to deposit money from the store. None of her family or friends had any contact with her after that, and they would never speak to her again. Security footage from the store showed that a man arrived at the store at around 12 o'clock and pressed the buzzer to be let in. It would now be up to Chelsea to decide whether she wanted to let him in, which she then did. There's no indication that she suspected anything untoward from him, since she had an agreement with her mother that if she felt unsafe, she would call her and keep her on the line until the person left the store, and she didn't do so on this day. It could be that the man didn't seem threatening, or that she had met him before, but this is mere speculation. The man, who can be seen in the security footage wearing a black hat, a dark-sleeved top, and black pants with light-colored shoes, was only in the store for about a minute, but those 60 seconds would bring about the end of Chelsea's life. As soon as he entered the store, the man walked up to Chelsea's counter and produced a firearm. The footage shows Chelsea thinking quickly as she pressed the panic button that's situated under her desk, but the man responds by firing his weapon at her, causing her to fall to the floor. He then walks around to her desk and fires again, ending her life. For the rest of the time that he's in the store, he searches around to steal whatever he can find, and after all is said and done, he makes his escape with a mere $200 in his pocket, knowing that the police have been summoned with the panic button. Given the time of day, many people would have been present in the strip mall, either having lunch or just taking a break from work, causing investigators to believe that the man didn't care about being seen after he carried out the attack. It's also been suggested that he walks with a slight limp in the security footage, but this is far from a certainty. Investigators also noticed that he seems to have a hunch when standing still, and that he's of a heavier build. When the CCTV footage was reviewed, one of the first details that stood out was that the man had a suppressor affixed to the barrel of his firearm, something that's very rarely seen during something as brazen as a robbery. This has led many people to believe that he wasn't actually there with the intention of robbing the store, but that this was a personal attack on Chelsea. But the man's motive remains a mystery if this is indeed the case. It could, of course, be the case that he simply didn't want to attract too much attention while carrying out the crime, but it does indicate that he was fully intending to discharge his weapon at some point. Whatever the case may be, it seems strange that he would go to such lengths to be as quiet as possible, but then walk through the strip mall without worrying whether he would be seen by the dozens of people that would be present. Investigators also noted that the man seemed very comfortable with the weapon, and it became apparent that he'd used one on multiple occasions before, either recreationally or during other crimes that he had committed. The ammunition that was found at the crime scene was placed in a database to look for matches, but this failed to produce any results. It isn't certain from the security footage whether the man was wearing gloves or not, but investigators were unable to lift any fingerprints from the scene, despite the man being seen in the footage touching many of the counters and surfaces in the store. The footage from the store is unfortunately quite grainy, and it's impossible to see the man's face clearly. It has, however, been suggested that he isn't wearing his normal clothes, as they seem too baggy for him, and this was likely done on purpose to conceal his identity even further. Another factor that may point to a targeted attack rather than a robbery is the fact that the man fired at Chelsea as soon as he reached the counter. He would have had a much better chance of stealing a lot more money if he had instructed her to help him gather as much cash as possible, but instead he had to look for it himself after the fact. Investigators also found it strange that he seemed very calm while rummaging through the store, since he knew that Chelsea had pressed the panic button and that the police would be on their way while he was still in the store. There's also the possibility that the man intended to attack Chelsea's coworker, since she had switched shifts at the last minute. The man may have realized that he had the wrong person, but then couldn't take the chance that Chelsea may be able to identify him. There have been no further leads in the case, and a $50,000 reward is being offered to anyone who has information that leads to the identification of Chelsea's attacker, with an additional $2,500 being offered by Crime Stoppers. Interestingly, a man was caught on surveillance footage 6 months earlier during a robbery in Jackson, Michigan, in which he could be seen stealing suppressors from a sporting goods store. It was noted that the man who carried out the robbery had similar traits as the man who ended Chelsea's life, but it's not been established whether they're the same person. The man in that robbery has also not been identified. For the time being, though, Chelsea's case still remains an unsolved mystery, with many questions and very few answers. If you have any information that could be helpful in the case, you're asked to get in touch with Crime Stoppers of Michigan at 1-800-773-2587. You can choose to remain anonymous if you prefer to. The case of Eliza Sherman's murder is one with many strange and confusing details, and more than a decade after she lost her life, there's still no indication who carried out the attack or what their motive may have been. On the 24th of March 2013, Eliza, an in vitro fertilization nurse, was said to meet with her divorce lawyer at 75 Erie View Plaza in Cleveland, Ohio. But instead, she was attacked by a man with a sharpened blade, and she would never return home. Eliza's daughter, Jennifer, told investigators that on that day, she'd been studying for a pharmacology exam that she would be sitting at Case Western Reserve University. She received a text message from Eliza at 2:55 p.m. in which she stated that she was about to meet with her divorce lawyer, Gregory Moore, to go over the final details of her divorce proceedings, which would have taken place 2 days later. She then received another text from her brother, Jeremy, as he wanted to know where Eliza was and if Jennifer was with her. She told him what Eliza's plans were and that she had promised to bring pizza home once she was done with the meeting. But as soon as the afternoon passed by, they received no further word from Eliza, and by 7:45 that evening, they started to become concerned since she was supposed to be home long before then. Eliza and Jennifer were in the habit of keeping in touch multiple times a day, and she found it strange that her mother hadn't notified her that she would be late. She then called Eliza's cell phone but got no answer, which was very worrying. After another failed attempt at contacting her mother, Jennifer phoned Jeremy to ask if he had heard from her. He stated that Eliza told him that she would be running some errands while heading over to her mother Doris's house in Cleveland Heights, where she needed to collect some medication. After another failed call to her mother's phone, Jennifer tried contacting Moore's office, since he would have seen her earlier that day, but she received no answer there either. She was starting to panic and decided to head out to look for her mother on her own. She continued to call Eliza's phone while searching, but she never answered. Then, a short while later, Jennifer received a call from Doris, asking if she knew where Eliza was. She'd been calling her for the past few hours, but couldn't reach her, and they all started to fear that something had happened to her. She then received a call from Jeremy, in which he told her that she needed to come to Beechwood, where he, Eliza, and Sanford, their father, lived, since the police wanted to talk to them all at the same time. She contacted her boyfriend and told him to meet her at the house, which he did around 10 minutes later, and they would be informed that Eliza had been attacked by a man with a sharpened blade, and that she had unfortunately passed away. Eliza had indeed arrived at her attorney's office, but never made it inside as she was attacked about 30 feet from the entrance. Someone who worked at the plaza heard Eliza screaming and rushed to help, but found that she was badly injured. They called 911 and stayed with her, but it was too late, and she was declared deceased at 6:14 p.m. after being transported to a medical center. When the investigation into Eliza's case was launched, investigators quickly found CCTV footage from outside the building. In it, a person wearing jeans and a green hoodie can be seen running away from the scene, and it's believed that they're the one who carried out the attack. They seemed to be running with a limp, but due to the poor quality of the footage, it was impossible to identify them or even see whether it was a man or a woman. What is pretty much certain is that this was no random attack or robbery, since she was wearing jewelry, including a sapphire ring, a necklace, and her father's wedding ring, none of which were stolen. Investigators interviewed employees who worked at the plaza and in Moore's office, including Moore himself, but found no further leads. They even searched the Sherman's house for blades that could have been used in the attack, but found that none of them in the house were viable options. A year later, it would come to light that Moore, Eliza's attorney, hadn't been entirely truthful when he was questioned. It was found that he had messaged Eliza several times to inform her that he was waiting for her in his office, but his phone records showed that he had left his office an hour before their scheduled meeting and only returned an hour after she had been attacked. He was charged with tampering with evidence, falsification, obstructing official business, forgery, and telecommunications fraud. This was backed up by data from his electronic key card and witnesses in the plaza who saw him leave and return. He was ultimately sentenced to 6 months in prison, with 3 years of probation and 350 hours of community service added. Moore has denied the charges and decided to plead not guilty. He's also in trouble for causing panic in 2012 when he phoned 3 different courthouses where he was supposed to appear with his clients and made statements that there was explosive devices in the building. It's never been determined why Moore lied to Eliza about being in the building, and no arrests have ever been made in her case, which is now more than a decade old. A $100,000 reward is being offered to anyone who can identify the individual seen running from the scene of the attack in the security footage, and a Facebook page has been set up to keep anyone who's interested informed about the ongoing investigation. Jennifer has filed a lawsuit against her father after she discovered that he and 5 other people had stolen more than $2 million from a bank account that he shared with Eliza, but it's uncertain whether he had anything to do with the attack that ended her life. The case has seen very little movement in the past 10 years, and no arrests have been made and no suspects have been identified. The person seen running away from the scene has also not been identified, and investigators welcome any leads that anyone has that could bring a close to Eliza's case. If you have any information on this case, you're asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 216-252-7463. In July of 2008, 56-year-old Linda Rollerson was an employee at a Joy American food store in Lake City, Florida, where she worked as a clerk. On the 22nd of July, a man entered and robbed the store with a firearm that he then used to end her life, and her case remains unsolved to this day. Linda had worked at the store for 6 years at this point, but this day would be unlike any other, and her family is still reeling from the loss and the fact that her attacker is likely still walking around freely, as he's still not been identified. What makes matters worse is the fact that Linda could have walked out of the store that day after the robbery had taken place, since she did nothing but comply with the robber's demands and did nothing to justify him taking her life. At around 8:30 p.m. that evening, a white 4-door Buick Regal, believed to be from the early to mid-90s with black trim, pulled into the parking lot in front of the store, and a man got out before making his way over to the store where Linda was going about her day. Thanks to the surveillance footage from the scene, he's known to be African American and tall, standing between 5'10" and 6'2" inches high. He has an average build, and in the footage can be seen wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt with a baseball hat on his head to help hide his identity. He's also wearing a striped shirt under the hoodie, denim shorts that end below the knee, white shoes and sunglasses. As he enters the store, the man walks over to Linda's counter and pulls out a firearm, which he then points at her. With no warning, no discussion, and no provocation, the man suddenly pulls the trigger, causing Linda to let out a scream, which could be heard on the store's security camera audio. It also captured the man's voice in the seconds that followed as he completed the robbery and ended Linda's life. Immediately after firing the shot, he yells, open it up," presumably referring to the cash register in front of her. Linda can be heard saying something back, but the audio isn't clear, and it isn't certain what she said to him, but it certainly wasn't confrontational, as she was complying with his demands throughout. He then yells for her to hurry up and hand him the money. Linda can then be seen opening her cash register's drawer, from which she removes several bills and hands them to the man who still has a firearm pointed at her. He continues to yell at her while she does her best to get all of the money out of the drawer, and when she finally hands him the last bills, he seems to think that there's more, as he can be heard yelling, "Pick it up, pick the black thing up," likely referring to the cash drawer, which he seems unable to identify for some reason. Likely baffled by his last statement, Linda picks the cash drawer up and shows it to the robber to show that she's handed him everything she had. And in most robberies, this would be the point where the robber stuffs his pockets full of cash and makes a dash for the door to get away. But this man has other ideas. Once again, he yells for her to hand over the money, but she has none left, and she shows him the drawer again, saying, "There." Strangely, and with no provocation whatsoever, the man then raises his weapon and fires again, this time hitting Linda and ending her life before fleeing. No one heard the sounds of the firearm being discharged, and it would be a further 15 minutes before Linda was found by customers who then entered the store. This isn't uncommon, since the store was known to not be very busy, as there was an S&S store across the road that saw a lot more business. They immediately called the police, who rushed to the scene, but found it was far too late to save Linda, and she was pronounced deceased at the scene. In an effort to track the robber down as quickly as possible, officers used tracker dogs to pick up the man's scent, which they were able to follow to the interstate, where it appeared that he then headed east. The surveillance footage showed the robber getting back into his car and backing up a short distance before making his getaway from the store. Investigators scoured the footage in an effort to learn as much about the man as possible, which was very little. They suspect that he was from out of town and that this wasn't the first robbery he had carried out, since he was very adept at hiding his identity by pulling his baseball hat and hood down over his head to conceal his face. This theory was further bolstered by the fact that he immediately walked over to Linda's counter and quickly produced his firearm as a show of aggression and intimidation. But they found it strange that he immediately discharged the weapon, since this could cause the victim to panic and start fumbling with the cash that he's trying to get his hands on. It's very likely that this man has carried out further robberies after attacking Linda, as he seems comfortable in the role and would likely continue to use robbery as an easy payday. Investigators have stated that they're desperate to find the robber and take him into custody, since it's clear that he's a violent individual who may end more lives if he isn't brought to justice swiftly. It's been 15 years since he entered the store and ended Linda's life, and with each passing year, it seems less likely that he'll be identified and made to pay for his heinous crime. It's been speculated that the robber chose to end Linda's life, either because he was worried that she had seen his face, or because she had seen him in the past, possibly as a customer at the store. It could also be possible that he had been identified by a clerk at another store during a previous robbery, and that he didn't want to make the same mistake again. There's also a strong possibility that he's addicted to illegal substances, and that he makes a habit of carrying out robberies to feed his addiction, which makes him all the more dangerous, since he could be in an unstable emotional state at any given time. But to this day, Linda's killer has not been identified, and investigators continue to hold out hope that someone will come forward with useful information one day. If you think you recognize this man or have any information on Linda's case, you're asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 386-754-7099. In 2016, an American couple from Chicago was startled to find that they were being watched by an eerie figure while they were asleep. Jack Makercher and Jordan Baranskas had fallen asleep on their sofa while watching TV and were completely unaware that they were being watched. Luckily, the CCTV footage managed to capture all that had happened. The couple explained that they had not known they were being watched until Jordan realized her purse was missing. Upon reviewing the video footage, they came to find the scene of their living room. On the side of the living room, there's a staircase leading to the second floor. Right at the top of this staircase, a person wearing a white hoodie can be seen standing there. The footage was rewinded to 3:30 on a Monday morning. Jordan expressed that she initially thought that it was Jack standing at the top of the stairs, and when she asked him about it, he said it wasn't him. That's when the couple became terrified. The intruder was able to enter the house through an unlocked door after climbing the fire escape and watched the two for a lengthy amount of time. Jordan recalled that the person was watching them for 5 minutes before walking away and then returning to watch them again for another 5 minutes. The intruder was quiet and careful enough to not awaken the two dogs that slept at Jack and Jordan's feet. After the footage was released, the burglar received the nickname the Creeper Ghost. Many believe that this individual is the thief responsible for other neighborhood break-ins. Some of the locals in the area have released photographic evidence of an individual riding a bicycle through the alleys and breaking into the houses in the Bucktown area. In an interview, Jordan explained that she and Jack had even gotten into a minor argument over whether or not she left her purse at the restaurant that they went to earlier that evening. This is what led her to have a look at the security footage. It's thought that perhaps the intruder was watching the show Mr. Robot that was playing. Jordan also stated, quote, "I like to think that he was watching the TV and not us." She furthered this by stating that this idea was a lot more comforting than the intruder watching them. Jack later explained that every other night aside from that one, the two would have been in bed with the balcony door locked. He stated, "You leave the door unlocked one time and this is what happens." He also expresses that he believes the burglar was perhaps watching some of the show, since he leaves when the credits start rolling. It's said that the total amount of time that the intruder was there had been 15 minutes, which is an incredibly long time to be watching the sleeping residents of a house after having broken in. The man then exited back the way he came, through the balcony door and down the fire escape. Luckily, the couple as well as their dogs were left unharmed, and nothing aside from the purse had been stolen. Authorities were investigating the case and did have a suspect in custody. It's explained that he'd been detained on Friday but was later released. The report states that the suspect had passed away before police arrived. He was apparently bound with duct tape. It's uncertain whether or not this was the burglar, and the entire case remains a mystery. Jack McArcher and Jordan Baranskas stated that they would be improving their home security from that point on. It must have been rather chilling to discover that someone had entered your home without you knowing and watched you for several minutes while you slept, carefully and quietly sneaking around before eventually leaving. The creeper ghost may still be wandering unsuspecting people's houses. Homeowners should be aware and lock their doors at night to ensure their safety. Jack and Jordan were lucky to have not been harmed this entire time. Surely, Jack and Jordan will be locking their balcony door and all their other doors from this point forward. We can only hope that the creepy individual has been apprehended in relation to other crimes. The couple will definitely be adding more security to their house to ensure their safety. Rainey Schuler is a YouTuber who uploads videos of his traveling adventures, as well as a variety of other footage, such as that of his yard security camera. Often, Schuler reposts videos of security footage that's captured wildlife. This security camera has captured videos of bears, deer, mountain lions, and random strange women walking around his property. Schuler's house is situated in a mountainous region, which is far away from any other roadways, and he has no immediate neighbors, which makes the footage even creepier. The security footage is dated the 14th of September, 2013, and at 43 minutes past 8 in the evening. In the video, a stranger is seen making an appearance out of the thick bush and trees. The woman's arms appear folded, and she can be seen pacing around the area for several minutes. She occasionally stops to look around, appearing confused and maintaining the same pose throughout. She exits off the screen for about 45 seconds, before reappearing closer to the camera with her arms still folded. The intruder can be seen exiting the area again, before emerging further away 10 seconds later. It takes another 16 seconds for her to re-emerge from behind some trees, and appears to be just a bit off balance. She stands in the exact place for 90 seconds, as if she's waiting for someone, and moves off again. The footage changes to a different area, which looks like the outside of Rainey's house. She's seen walking towards the house but turns down the side of it, and disappears into the bush for another 60 seconds, before returning and heading back in the same direction in which she came. It's uncertain what happened next, or if the woman was trying to get into the house or was lost for some reason. It remains unknown as to whether or not the authorities were contacted regarding the strange woman on the property, who appears out of nowhere and acts strangely. The viewers of the video had a lot to say as well. Some believe the woman may have been intoxicated, but she appears to be walking quite normally. One of the commenters asked if Rainey ever found out who the strange woman was, but this question was left unanswered. Others even told him that he should take this footage to the nearest police station. Although her face is not clearly visible, the authorities may be able to clear up some of this footage and identify the woman. A few of the viewers seem to believe that she's looking for something, but what could she possibly be looking for, since the house is situated a great distance away from any roads or other houses? Others seem to think that she was under the influence of some sort of drug. There is a general agreement that this was certainly out of the blue and very creepy. If the woman was lost, as some of the viewers have suggested, then why did she not go up to the house and knock on the door? Instead, she just paces around the property, even going behind the garage before returning sometime later. One of the viewers explained that at 1 minute and 10 seconds to 1 minute and 50 seconds, there are headlights that appear on one side, and there are lights that go on and off a few times. This leads people to believe that perhaps her car had broken down or crashed. It's not known what happened to the woman, or if she managed to find her way back to the roads or her vehicle. There have been no further explanations from Rainey on this particular video. She generally appears to be very confused throughout the footage and should have gotten assistance. This is why home security systems are so important. Anything could have happened throughout the course of this unsettling video. Luckily, it appears that no one was injured, but it would certainly be relieving to know exactly what went on here. An incredibly terrifying ordeal took place in 2017 at Rochelle Haig's home in Partington, Manchester. The event was something that every mother fears. This video was captured on home CCTV footage. Rochelle's children can be seen playing in the garden when a white van rolls up. Initially, the white van can be seen entering the screen at quite a speed. The driver is at a distance away, but within earshot. The man appears to be attempting to lure the 3 children to his vehicle until the oldest daughter runs to find her mother while another follows. She can be seen returning to the garden to get the youngest child to safety. It appears that the man was trying to lure the children to his car using a bag of donuts. The man was asking Rochelle if her daughters wanted the donuts, but as soon as Rochelle wanted to confront the driver, he quickly sped away. The mother took to social media and posted the footage to warn more families. She explains that the footage reveals a man who had tried to offer her children donuts and told them to come to his vehicle. She also recalled that as she was about to confront him, he began acting strangely before taking off. He looked terrified and said that he was just trying to offer the girls a donut. The Greater Manchester Police Department commented that a report was made on the 7th of October, expressing that the man had offered children donuts with the assumption that he was trying to lure them to his vehicle. But due to the lack of evidence supporting Rochelle and her daughter's claims, the case cannot progress, and it's being treated as suspicious with an ongoing investigation. Rochelle recounted in an interview that she heard a screech as if someone had done an emergency stop. She stated, quote, "I was sat on my couch and I could hear someone shouting, 'Come on, quick girls, come get some donuts.' That's when her daughter came hurrying in saying, 'Mom, come quick.' Initially, she thought it was just some friendly neighbors, until her children had conveyed that a stranger was lurking outside. The 26-year-old mother praised her oldest daughter for hurriedly getting all the children to safety and informing her immediately. She explains that she's always taught the girls to run should anything like that happen. Rochelle warned her neighbors and told them to keep a lookout. The authorities have also stated that inquiries are ongoing. On the YouTube video that was posted by IB Time UK, one person in the comment section said that it was sad that the children waved at the man, not knowing what his intentions truly were. Another viewer expressed that they had also seen another video of the exact same van trying to lure children towards him. This suggests that this person might be going around the area trying to kidnap young children. Commenters state that they can't even see any donuts, but it was stated by the mother that he directly said to her that he was offering the children donuts. A closer eye should be kept on young children who are outside unattended. No further information has been revealed regarding this particular case. Perhaps he was apprehended sometime later relating to other incidents. This, though, remains unconfirmed, and there's no information regarding the individual, such as a number plate or their identity. The world has become more unsafe throughout the years, and it's important that everyone stays cautious and alert. Hopefully the creepy man was caught, but for now, this mystery remains unsolved. A hotel named Eagle's Nest, situated in Quincy, Illinois, was reportedly a hotspot for paranormal activity. That's possibly why it comes as no surprise that the CCTV footage was able to catch a video of a suspected ghostly event. The video shows the elevator area of the hotel, where a cart can be seen at the furthest side. A strange, ghostly figure appears as soon as the elevator doors open and dashes out into the area. It dashes very quickly and then back into the elevator. Some also think that it exhibits childlike behavior. Many believers in the paranormal believe that this is an evil ghost spirit. The reason for checking the footage in the first place was that the housekeeper realized some items had been missing from her cart. In the video, it's noted that the figure dashes toward the cart and back into the elevator, and may have taken something from the cart as a child would do. The shadowy figure can be seen for a few seconds in the video before quickly disappearing. According to staff members, this hotel has seen many paranormal events and has often reported strange things happening. Staff members claimed that they would see shadows or hear giggling noises while they worked, and explained that the giggling was disturbing and creepy. The member who's targeted most often is the man who does the maintenance. He expresses that he has really odd things happening around him while he's working and attending to issues. One person explained that the elevator doors were closed at the time, and that if they had reopened, you would see a light. The angle of the camera prevents us from seeing if the elevator really did open or not. This particular video has been seen over 20,000 times after initially being uploaded to Facebook by Jennifer Majors, who was an employee at the hotel on the 14th of May, 2020. Sometime later, the video was shared by the Hidden Underbelly 2.0, which is a paranormal YouTube channel. The creepy figure in the video has gained a lot of attention, and some believe that it's an imp or a demon of sorts. One person had commented stating that one should not be fooled and the ghost is not a child, as some believe, but rather a demon. Another viewer was rather worried after seeing the video, and said that everyone needs to be extremely careful, and if the creature is able to move items around or make noises, then it's more than likely a poltergeist. Many of those who saw the video seemed to be on the same page with another commenter, stating that's evil for sure, and another saying it just hangs around someone who's going to pass soon. It's waiting for his soul, which is one of the more disturbing comments. In the video, you're able to see the elevator doors. The staff members were asked about this, and the response was that the building is old and built in such a way that the elevator doors are installed deeper, in which it makes it appear as though there's a large doorway. According to the staff member, they've seen other buildings in Illinois with a similar structure. Although it's initially believed that the elevator doors had opened, it cannot be confirmed since the doors of the elevator can't be seen. Some of the viewers even attempted to debunk the video and stated that you could see the camera moving or wobbling in such a way that it could not be CCTV footage. The video itself was taken by a staff member of the actual CCTV footage. It's seen clearly that the video is of a screen displaying the CCTV footage. Some more comments stated that this was a demon pretending to be a child, and one suggested that there are other dimensions around us, and this is one indication of that. One viewer asked if any passings occurred at the hotel, which would be interesting information to know. A commenter explained that this is good evidence of a parallel universe that's just out of our view. Another person who saw the video intriguingly stated that there are many entities present in the video, and said that one of these entities can be seen underneath the cart. There's also supposedly a few more ghosts by the doorway, where the initial spirit enters from. Hotels appear to be a hotspot for ghostly activity, especially when there's no one around to witness it. If the ghost is as evil as the viewers say, then perhaps one should be careful when residing at this hotel. Another hotel in Illinois is home to some ghostly activity. The Wingate Hotel shared a video in 2012 of some very strange footage after initially being recorded on the 14th of September in 2003. A staff member of the hotel, John, was leaving the elevator on the second floor of the hotel to head to room 209. On the screen, 4 areas of the hotel are visible. This includes the entrance, a stairwell, the pool, as well as the second floor. John was on his way to have a look at the room after there'd been a report made by a woman stating that there was screaming emanating from there, even though nobody had checked into that room. John heads down the hall, making his way to the room. Upon reaching the room, John expresses that he can still hear the screaming. He was speaking to another associate over a radio call, and they stated that he should hold off while they get a hold of the authorities. John enters the room anyway, just to have a look to see if anyone was in any danger. He can be seen walking into the room with a flashlight and disappearing out of view. After entering the room, a ghostly figure can be seen coming out of it and carrying on down the hallway. The apparition appears as a white fog in the shape of a man. The light next to the door also flickers slightly twice. Soon, John can be seen returning and appears to be somewhat startled. It's stated that John now requested for the authorities to get there. He had said that there was no one inside the room, but all the furniture had been turned upside down and it was a mess. He further explained that the carpet was ripped up and the shower had been turned on. He walked away from the room, leaving the door open, and the man on the radio can be heard saying that he was incredibly freaked out after all that. On the 19th of May, 2021, the video was uploaded to TikTok by a user named Slowmo, which has been replayed 2 million times in 24 hours. The video was initially given to a YouTuber named Jimmy Nut 22 by the security of the hotel and has been viewed over 9 million times since making its way onto YouTube. Additionally, there was an update posted in the video description stating that he's not legally allowed to say where the hotel is located and that viewers should stop asking. Some believe that the video is fake, especially with the addition of the horrific screams. The exact location of the hotel has been kept a secret due to certain unspecified events that occurred there. Some have tried to debunk the video, but found it rather difficult since it all seems very real. Everyone is uncertain what to make of the video, but it is certainly a very haunting experience. John also doesn't appear to notice the figure leaving the room, and he appears genuinely frightened and even hesitant. It would definitely prove difficult to edit a video in such a way that shows a ghostly figure turning a corner and continuing down the hall without making it look robotic. The scary video became known as the Screaming Ghost at Wingate Hotel. Recently, the video has been trending on TikTok, where viewers asked if they could stay at the hotel in room 209. In the comments of the TikTok video, one person stated that if a crime had occurred in that room, then John just let the spirit out. Another commenter agreed with them and said that the ghost appeared to be running away and was most likely the spirit of a woman. This commenter also claimed to have seen similar events before. Some believe that this was a staged act by the staff members of the hotel, but some paranormal believers highly disagree. While some viewers are skeptical about there being a camera right outside the specific room, it's noted that many cameras follow John throughout his journey toward the room. This security footage is definitely disturbing, and the events that took place in that room remain unknown. Staff from the hotel were unable to identify who was screaming, and it's uncertain if the authorities did attend the hotel. Later, it came out that the video was a hoax, but this may also be a cover-up of sorts, since no further information has been revealed. Perhaps the acts that occurred in room 209 that evening were far too terrifying to share with the public. Hotels can be a scary place, and everyone should take caution while staying at one. On November 15th, 2021, 65-year-old Antonio Finau drove an hour from his home residence to the town of Langholm in West Auckland, New Zealand. Antonio did not tell anyone of his spontaneous travel plans, and his mysterious disappearance remains unsolved ever since. As police investigators retraced what happened to Antonio before he vanished, they found the video evidence most puzzling. When Antonio backed his car, a black Nissan, into a ditch at Langholm Beach, he had to wait overnight for a tow truck to pull him out. He decided to sleep outside, which was not normal for him. The next day, Antonio made another very strange decision no one has been able to explain. Instead of waiting for the tow truck, he left his car behind and took a bus to New Lynn, a short eastward journey in the direction of his home. Shortly before he went missing, he went to a convenience store to purchase a few items. After that, his whereabouts and destination are unknown. Before he went to the store, Antonio is clearly visible on the bus footage, wearing a gray cap and shirt with a black vest, as well as dark sunglasses. He throws the bus driver a card when boarding. The CCTV footage then changes to him speaking with the driver at the New Lynn stop. When they're done talking, Antonio pats the man on the shoulder and shakes his hand before leaving. Anthony, Antonio's son, lives overseas and cannot explain why his father would make this unusual trip. Growing up, he said his father was a typical dad who usually stuck to his daily routine of going to church and seeing friends and family. When he stressed to investigators how strange all of this behavior was, police saw no evidence of foul play, but still suspect Antonio's welfare may be at stake. Investigators are encouraging anyone who may have seen Antonio to reach out by calling 105 and quoting the file number 211-204-4366. Susanna Torres Salto went missing on April 11, 2021, between 5:35 and 5:50 p.m. When her last moments were caught on camera, the surveillance footage gave crime scene investigators a better understanding of what happened, but not a better understanding of where the missing young mother of two could be found. Susanna, 32 years old, had obtained a temporary restraining order against her ex-husband, Javier Chavez. In the CCTV recording caught on April 11th, Susanna is led by a man into the driver's seat of a silver Chevrolet. He was later identified as Javier Chavez in a clear violation of the restraining order. In a strange but true twist, the incident was caught on camera exactly one day before she was scheduled to go before a judge and make the temporary restraining order permanent. According to true crime reports, both of Susanna's children were in the back seat of the car. That night, they were dropped off at Javier's parents' house sometime around 10 p.m. What happened to Susanna remains an untold story, and she's vanished without a trace ever since. Allegations made by her family state that they had tried to contact the police in the past about Javier violating the restraining order, only to be told nothing could be done until Susanna was in immediate danger. Investigators have listed Susanna's case as an active missing person investigation. They have reason to believe that Javier brought Susanna across the border to Mexico, where he may still be holding her captive. Anyone with any missing information on this unsolved case is asked to call the California Sheriff's Office to speak with Detective Somerton at 209-525-7032 in English, or Detective Escovez in Spanish at 209-652-1792. You can also remain anonymous by calling Crime Stoppers at 209-521-4636. In 2017, 58-year-old Robert Barron, a family man and pizzeria owner in Old Forge, Pennsylvania, suddenly went missing in a strange but true mystery that still has not been solved. On January 25th, Robert drove his son Bobby to his apartment at around 10 p.m. When Robert went missing later that night, people assumed he could be found at a second apartment he owned above the restaurant. But the next day, when Robert's son arrived for work, he found their daily delivery of pizza dough had been left sitting outside, which was unusual. Inside, Robert was missing, nowhere to be found, and it looked like a struggle had taken place before he mysteriously vanished. A crime scene investigator would later take DNA evidence from a missing tooth that was later identified through forensic testing to belong to Robert. His cell phone, like his tooth, had been left behind in the restaurant. Several days later, his missing car was found a mile away from the restaurant, its interior stained red. There was mud on the tires, but Robert himself seems to have vanished without a trace. After reviewing surveillance footage, Robert's family believes they've identified two unknown people who could have information to solve this mysterious missing person case. The family thinks two possible criminals were caught on camera, a couple blocks from the restaurant. One is a man in shorts walking near Main Street in Old Forge just after midnight. What he's wearing matches a description given by a witness whose story places the man close to the restaurant, sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. Another man pulls a heavy suitcase that Robert's family thinks is theirs. When they checked the apartment above the restaurant to see if the suitcase was still there, they found that it had gone missing. Exactly what was in the suitcase or why it was taken from the apartment remains unknown. Since this is an active missing person investigation, police have refused to further comment publicly on this strange and unexplained CCTV surveillance footage. Anyone with information on Robert's unsolved case should contact the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office at 570-963-6717. The strange disappearance of Colleen South is a potential true crime story in which the unsolved mystery continues long after the missing person had been found. On July 3, 2022, the 58-year-old missing person was last caught on camera, quite confused at a gas station in Berrywillock, Australia. A stranger saw her struggling with making a payment at the pump and gave her $10 to make a cash payment inside. This CCTV image would be her final moments caught on camera before vanishing. When her car was spotted in a ditch at 4 p.m., responding officers found her missing from the vehicle and began a search for the person who owned the vehicle. Her ID and a journal were found in a bag meters from the car. In addition to canine units, investigators from the Victoria Police Department used a helicopter and drones to try and solve the mysterious disappearance of where Colleen South had gone next. A 12-mile search in all directions from the car found nothing. It was as if she truly had mysteriously vanished without a trace. A farmer found her missing body less than a mile from where her car was spotted. She was no longer alive. Why she no longer had on her shoes or jacket from the CCTV image is a mystery, as is the contents of her journal. When the pages were checked, her last words before she went missing were "help me please," written in hurried, close-together letters. The sloppy handwriting did not match the neat handwriting of other entries, which has raised a lot of speculation within the true crime community as to whether or not she wrote it during her final moments. 3 weeks after her body was discovered, her missing cell phone was found in a nearby port. The SIM card containing all of her personal phone data was mysteriously missing. Why the phone was found so far away from the rest of her belongings and her body cannot be explained. Colleen South was moving at the time and was under a lot of stress, but her family does not think this was a voluntary act. The crime scene evidence leaves unanswered questions, and police are still investigating. This is the unsolved case of Bill Shipley, a resident of Goldsby, Oklahoma, who was working as a contract painter when he mysteriously disappeared in July of 2011. On the 15th of that month, Bill told his father he would be traveling to Kansas for a painting job after answering a Craigslist work ad. Sometime afterwards, either before or after he reached his destination, he went missing and was never found. A missing person case was not opened until August 19th, after he failed to return home from Kansas or talk to his family for days. Before calling investigators to report him as a missing person, his concerned parents first drove to his home to make sure he really had gone missing. They discovered the front door unlocked and the interior in disarray, including a fridge full of food that had spoiled when the electricity was cut off. The potential crime scene showed no evidence of a struggle, but the dresser drawers had been pulled open. On the bed was a suitcase packed with clothing that he had never taken. Whatever had happened to him cannot be explained, but it seemed like he had, at the very least, left quickly for reasons unknown, and perhaps not of his own accord. While conducting interviews, crime detectives learned from a neighbor who hadn't seen him in weeks that his Chevrolet pickup had disappeared about 14 days after he had gone missing. His second vehicle, a Jeep, went missing about 20 days after he had disappeared. She had not seen the person driving them away and didn't know if it was Bill or not. Both of the abandoned vehicles were later found at 2 different apartment complexes in Oklahoma City. All of the painting supplies he had taken with him for the contracting job were missing. Video evidence shows that Bill was not alone on the day of his strange disappearance. On July 19th, his last moments were captured on CCTV at a Sonic restaurant on State Highway 9 across from Riverwind Casino. The final footage clearly shows an unknown passenger with him. Bill's family believes this person's identity is key to solving his unsolved missing person case. In the weeks following his unexplained disappearance, police found unusual activity on Bill's credit cards. An individual later confirmed by police not to be Bill was reported for using his card at several locations in Normal, Oklahoma. The person's true identity remains unknown more than 10 years after Bill vanished without a trace. This criminal suspect remains a person of interest in Bill's active missing person investigation. To this day, the unsolved mystery still remains open for investigation, and anyone with missing information about Bill's mysterious disappearance should contact the McLean County Case Investigators at 405-527-2141. True horror story of 27-year-old Kirsten Brugman took place on New Year's Eve of 2021. Kirsten had plans to meet up with a group of friends at a local bar. She texted her mom to tell her about her plans and that she would need a ride home. She had no way of knowing this was the night of her mysterious disappearance. At some point, the group got into an argument, and Kirsten either chose to leave or was left behind. Security cameras picked up Kirsten's next movements as footage depicts Kirsten, 5'2" and 115 pounds, wearing a black coat and a gray hat on Short Ridge Road at around 12:40 a.m. At approximately 2 a.m., a camera in an adjacent parking lot, which partially covered an apartment complex as well as the YMCA, caught the missing person's final known moments on camera as they headed towards a fenced area. The street camera was faulty, and the recording cuts out without showing which way she went next. Investigators have concluded that Kirsten would have to climb a fence or circle back around to leave the parking lot. But by the time the camera cuts back in, she's already missing. Ever since this final missing person sighting was caught on camera that fateful evening, Kirsten's parents have not been able to find any leads to explain her mysterious disappearance. The police also do not have any criminal suspects or even witnesses. Kirsten seems to have simply vanished, leaving behind no trace except for the haunting CCTV footage. Anyone with information about the strange and unsolved disappearance of Kirsten Brugman is asked to contact the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department's Missing Person Unit at 317-327-6160 or online at missingpersons@indy.gov. Kirsten also has a missing person Facebook page at find.kirsten.brugman, where information regarding her case may be found. Norbert Tony Dantzman was born in 1930 on a farm in the small northern community of Winter, Wisconsin. In the Merchant Marines, he spent some time working on the Great Lakes. He also served in Korea. After leaving the service, Tony moved to Oregon with his brother, finding work as a logger and eventually setting in to Crescent City, California, working for many years as a home builder before his strange and unexplained mystery would begin. In August of 2019, Tony traveled with his daughter and son-in-law from his home in California back to Winter to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of his family's farm. Then 89 years old, Tony was in fairly good physical shape but had significant memory loss. At around 9 a.m. on Friday, August 30th, 2019, Tony was captured by security cameras leaving the Northern Lights Hotel in Wisconsin, where he and his family were staying. The footage showed that he walked out of the building to his car. He tried to open it, but finding it locked, he walked to the back of the motel and continued heading north, shortly before his mysterious disappearance. Witnesses placed him about a quarter-mile north at around 9:30 a.m. near a mobile home park. This was the last time he was seen. A search by police canine units was able to track Tony's scent to a nearby highway where it's possible that the missing person may have been picked up by a passing driver. Since so many relatives were in town for the family reunion, they were able to conduct a thorough grid search of the area and found no trace of their vanished relative. They believed the confused senior citizen did not know he was lost and was cognizant enough to hold a conversation with people as he traveled west towards his home in California. Like so many unsolved cases of missing older people with memory loss, there are very few leads to solve this strange disappearance of Tony. The weekend he went missing, an antique shop owner believes she may have spoken with Tony. However, there is no footage or other evidence that it may have been him. His family believes the encounter was really him, and they even suspect he could have successfully started a new life, literally forgetting about his old family, without anyone in his new life realizing he was effectively becoming senile at his old age. Tony's family is offering a $5,000 reward for any information in his missing person case. Anyone with information should contact the Sawyer County Sheriff's Department at 714-634-5213 and reference case number 1908-3020. Tony's family has also created a webpage for him at trihelix.co/Tony-Danceman and a Facebook page called Missing Person Tony Danceman. Melissa Estoy, a 25-year-old woman of Hawaiian heritage, was last seen by family members on the afternoon of January 16, 2018. Not much information is available about Melissa prior to her mysterious disappearance. There is an Instagram account in her name with the user bio which reads, quote, "In all we do, we must trust in God. Hashtag this is our Hawaii." However, the account is set to private and her posts cannot be viewed. What we do know is that in 2018, Melissa lived in Hawaii. On January 16th, Melissa was seen leaving her home by a family member. Nothing more was heard from her for 2 days after this, which was very unusual for the young woman. On January 18th, a shocking discovery was made. Melissa's car, keys still in the ignition, was parked at the Nanakuli Beach Park. Melissa's 1991 gold Honda Accord still had all of her belongings in it, including her phone, even though the windows were rolled down and the keys were accessible. Zablin Beach is the local name for the southern stretch of waterfront at the Nanakuli Park. The beach is watched by a single security camera from a private house. Eerie surveillance footage captured Melissa parking her car and walking around the front of the car and out into the ocean. The missing person was never caught on camera coming back. Coast Guard and fire crews conducted a thorough water search, but found no indication of Melissa. Melissa's family maintains an active Facebook group for her called Missing Melissa Estoy, Case Discussion and Awareness. Her loved ones do not believe she would have disappeared intentionally and continue to search for clues regarding her whereabouts. In 2017, Courtney Lake went missing, leaving little evidence behind aside from footage that showed her getting into a truck belonging to a former boyfriend. Just a few months after her strange disappearance, Courtney's ex, Philip Smith, was found lifeless by his own hand. He was the primary person of interest in her case. Without his assistance, it's possible that Courtney may never be found. 24-year-old Courtney was a lifelong Newfoundland, Canada resident. Sometime prior to 2017, Courtney met Philip Smith and began dating. On April 15, 2017, Philip got physical with Courtney as she tried to get out of his truck. Although she ended the relationship, Philip continued to harass her, and in May of 2017, he sent intimate images of Courtney to her new boyfriend without her permission. Courtney obtained a peace bond against Philip, which legally prohibited all contact. Despite this, her case shows that he reached out to her on more than 33 occasions. On June 7, 2017, Philip appeared in court and pled guilty to criminal charges. He was given a prohibition order to stay away from Courtney and her mother. That same afternoon, Courtney spent some time with her mother, during which she mentioned that Philip had reached out. He was willing to concede handmade Christmas ornaments that had sentimental value. On the evening of June 7th, she agreed to go with Philip to his house to pick them up. Camera footage captured her getting into his truck, and she was never seen again. Police investigated Philip, who had violated the terms of the probation order by picking Courtney up that evening. On August 9, 2017, he pled guilty to the violation, but due to his lack of cooperation, their destination on that day and her current whereabouts remain unknown to police. Police surveillance continued until he was found deceased early in the morning of November 1st, 2017 by his own doing. He was never criminally charged with Courtney's disappearance, and no trace of her has been found. Courtney's cell phone has not been used since her unsolved disappearance, and there are no new social media posts by her. All of Courtney's family, including her mother, believe that Philip took her life on June 7th. They also believe that the judicial system failed by not acting quickly enough to stop the abuse. Courtney's loved ones hope that by speaking out, they can spread awareness and get other cases solved before they end up like this unexplained mystery. Anyone with information about Courtney's case may contact the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary at 729-800 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Courtney's family also runs a Facebook group dedicated to sharing information about her called Help Us Find Courtney. Cassandra Ramirez went missing during an eventful time in her life. The 25-year-old mother was living in the Bronx and just graduated from culinary school. She was due to start a new job in October of 2018, less than a month after she disappeared. On September 18, 2018, her mother Ingrid came to visit her daughter in the city, bringing with her Cassandra's younger sister Rihanna. The trio got their hair and nails done and shared a meal. Ingrid told Cassandra she was thinking about moving to New York so that Cassandra and her son could live with them. But she would never get the chance to finalize these plans before she mysteriously disappeared in a strange mystery that has never been solved. On September 19, 2018, Cassandra left the apartment she shared with her cousin around 11:40 p.m. to meet with her ex-boyfriend, John O'Brien. By some accounts, John had told Cassandra that he would give her money to buy a present for her son's upcoming birthday. Cassandra said that John was waiting downstairs and that she might be back in the morning if it got too late. Surveillance camera footage captured Cassandra going downstairs and helping an elderly lady with buying groceries before turning left on Melrose Avenue and East 161st Street. After this video evidence, she went missing and her case has never been solved. On September 21st, Cassandra's mother tried contacting her via text message and then filed a missing person report on September 22nd. Cassandra didn't have a passport, a driver's license, or credit cards. She did have her iPhone with her when she vanished, but she did not reply to any texts or calls. About a week after she first disappeared, Cassandra was still nowhere to be found and missing from her son's birthday party. Investigators suspected criminal foul play. There are two primary theories to explain the unsolved absence of Cassandra. The man she was meeting that night, John O'Brien, had conflicting stories about his whereabouts on the evening of the 18th. At first, he told investigators that he never saw Cassandra. Then he changed his mind and said that they met up and he dropped her off at the Hunters Point train station in Queens, New York. There is no evidence to support any of John's stories, and surveillance footage from the train station did not capture Cassandra on camera. Both Cassandra's family and police believe John may have been involved in her unsolved disappearance. As of 2022, it's reported that investigators are unaware of John's current whereabouts. Despite the evidence seemingly pointing towards John, there is another true crime theory that some have suggested may explain Cassandra's mysterious absence. Some time before she vanished, Cassandra was attacked by a person whose identity has not been released by police. Just a week prior to that September evening, she had testified before a grand jury in a court case about the attack. With the help of her direct testimony, the individual was indicted on 7 felony charges. But after Cassandra went missing, the case was entirely dropped. It's been speculated that this case may have had something to do with Cassandra's disappearance, and the timing is certainly uncanny. However, police have not officially given any indication of whether or not they believe this mysterious coincidence has anything to do with Cassandra's missing person case. Years later, Cassandra remains missing from the lives of many people, including her cousin, mother, son, and younger sister. Her family helps to maintain a Facebook page dedicated to gathering information called Find Cassandra Ramirez. In addition, anyone with details about Cassandra's case may contact the NYPD at 212-694-7781. Her case number is 2018-1943. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future videos. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys next time.